Laura Dodsworth is here. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
A breath of fresh air, because now we can talk about something other than Boris Johnson, which I'm very much looking forward to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Although I just want to say, one thing about Boris Johnson is when he's on the back foot is when he does interesting things. So here he is, in a corner like a wounded, hunted rodent.
Yes.
And this is his opportunity to finally be a proper Conservative, cut taxes, cut green levies, forget the net zero nonsense.
Yes.
Managed to remember myself off there.
Yes, very good.
And, start being a good Conservative leader.
I think he always does.
Come out the corner, Boris.
He does more Conservative things when he's under fire. So, under fire is good for Boris, I think. It's better for him. It's a bit like, a recalcitrant husband.
Yeah.
They behave better when you're giving them a hard time.
And he's certainly been one of those.
Although that doesn't work with me, by the way, just in case you're wondering.
Let's save that for another week, because you know what, Boris is under quite a spotlight at the moment. Let's instead talk about Keir Starmer.
Why not?
So every week I always tweet what I'll be talking about with you, so that people can come and tune in if they're interested. And somebody said, could we please talk about whether Keir Starmer has got any
cojones?
Yes, let's say that.
Thank you.
I'm so careful now about the Ofcom rules after that time you fuzzed me out. I've got to be careful.
Well, it's not that I did that. There are certain restrictions, unfortunately, unless you're working for the BBC, in which case you say whatever you like, because they can do whatever they want and they don't even have to worry about, who pays them, because they get paid by me.
And I've done that on the BBC.
Yes.
So, as you mentioned earlier, Keir Starmer has before got himself into hot water, quite rightly, for being totally unable to say what a woman is, whether a woman has a penis, or whether only women have a cervix, on a different radio station that has much less intelligent guests and phone-ins than this station.
The other place, as we call it.
The other place.
Yeah.
Well, Keir Starmer's gone away and he's done his homework and he has a new answer, but I can only give him 5 out of 10 for this answer. So he has said that for the vast majority of women, this is all about biology, and of course they don't have a penis.
Well done, Keir.
We all know that, and of course they need safe spaces, and we'll support that. But there is a small minority of individuals who are born in a gender they don't now identify with.
See.
And he went on to say that some women do have penises. So he is right that, of course, some women need safe spaces. We need sex-based spaces and rights that are reserved for women. But of course he's wrong in saying that women have penises.
Yeah, well, it's entirely. Wouldn't it be more sensible to put it around the other way and say that some people with penises think they're women? Is that wrong?
That would be another way round of saying it. So Tory MP Mark Jenkinson has said, poor old Todger Dodger Sir Keir has gone and got himself stuck between a rock and a very hard place. I'd argue that Keir Starmer's got himself caught between a cock and a hard place, and I don't think this is a very comfortable place for him to be.
I don't think it would be.
And one thing that Boris Johnson has got over Keir Starmer is he does actually know what a woman is.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, does he know what a woman is.
He certainly does.
Yes.
He knows what several women are, as it turns out.
So I just can't believe that Keir Starmer finds it this difficult. But, it turns out he's right.
Yes.
Because in response to my tweet this morning, somebody sent me a story from a newspaper in Teesside about a woman who's been accused of indecent exposure and of masturbating in public and using a sex toy in public. I know that story.
That's been around for a while, that story.
And the story reports that she exposed her penis.
Really?
So, yes, there we go. We are in this strange world where, according to the newspapers, women have penises. This wasn't true a very short time ago. I'm not quite sure how we got here.
Well, I was just talking earlier about the NHS's new guidance from NHS Digital, which is apparently yet another NHS organisation I'd never heard of, which is in charge of all their website business, right? And they've now decided to not use the word woman or women when it comes to describing what ovarian cancer is. Which is not very helpful if you might think you have ovarian cancer, because, as they point out, some of the critics to this new policy, if English is not your first language, or if you're not particularly perhaps well enough educated to work out what they're saying, you might think you can't get ovarian cancer because it doesn't say that you get it if you're a woman.
Yeah, it's exactly the wrong place not to use clear language, because when you're encouraging women to go for women's health checks, so for instance cervical smears, or if they've got concerns about reproductive parts of their body, then you have to use language that is easily understandable to all women. Not all women in this country will know what a cervix is, because you say they, English might not even be their first language. So if you talk about people with a cervix, that literally doesn't speak to some women.
No.
So it's a very, very important area to preserve sexed language.
Yeah.
Now, NHS Digital is saying they haven't completely removed the word woman, but they have somewhat desexed the language.
Right.
And so in an attempt to be politically correct and to inclusive of people of all genders, what they're really doing is alienating some of the people they most need to reach, women, and they should clearly be using straightforward
Yeah.
biological language.
And they're also
in this
sort of-
case more than any.
They're muddying the waters of the language to such an extent that it becomes meaningless. For example, one of the new sentences in this guide about cancer of the ovaries is that cancer of the womb is womb cancer. That's what the sentence actually says, which doesn't help anyone.
That is ridiculous. That reminds me of a film that's just come out called What is a Woman? It's on the US site Daily Wire. It's really good. I highly recommend it to people. I interviewed the man behind it, Matt Walsh, last night.
A man made it.
Yeah.
That can't be right.
Well, it's caused a rather predictable backlash among some feminists that a man has stepped in like a champion, saved the day, made the film. But it is really good. I interviewed him last night, and that an article about that will be on the Critic magazine website this week. So watch out for that.
Okay.
But he asks this question: what is a woman?
Yes.
And you'll find that a lot of people, like trans activists or people who are very far down a rabbit hole of gender ideology, can't answer it because they give a circular answer. They'll say a woman is someone who identifies as a woman, but what is a woman?
Right.
And then that's when they fall down, and that's why you have to have clear definitions.
Yes.
If you can't say what a woman is, if you can't explain what gynecological cancer is, if you can't do a better job than Keir Starmer, we'll get into a pickle. But language has to have
once you get
clear
away
meaning.
from the definition of adult human female, what are you going to say instead that covers that?
Well, you're describing identity, which is effectively personality, it's feelings, and it's going to mean different things to different people, so you lose clear meanings.
Yes. Speaking of which, I've just had a great text from a friend of mine. It says a group of weasels is known as a sneak, a boogle, a gang, or a confusion.
Oh my God, I love that.
Isn't
I
that
love
great?
collective nouns for animals.
A confusion of weasels. Now, how better to describe the 148 Tories who voted against Boris Johnson?
Well,
A confusion of weasels.
frankly,
I like
nearly
it.
all of them in the House of Commons, to be fair.
There
these
are a lot of
days.
weasels there.
A confusion of weasels. That's superb.
I have to use that in a sentence. Anyway,
Every day.
so what do they end up defining a woman as then? And what is a woman? Without spoiling the ending of the film, obviously.
Well, we all know what the answer is, but I'd hate to spoil the punchline of the film. I'm instead going to recommend people watch it or look out for my article.
Do they
this week.
use the song "I'm Every Woman" in it?
I'm every person who identifies as a woman. Yeah, great lyrics.
That's tremendous. Be great actually to rewrite all those song lyrics, wouldn't it?
No.
No. Okay
No.
then. Now let's talk about the reaction to the Jubilee because
Okay.
it was a big weekend. I mean, I actually woke up on Monday morning thinking. Well, this will be quite an interesting day because we can look back on, I had all sorts of thoughts about, what does this Jubilee celebration say about Britain? What does it say about where we are as a nation, who we are as a people,
Yeah.
who identifies with which bits of it. I didn't like the green stuff from Prince William, but I quite liked the concert generally. I loved the trooping of the colour that day, was brilliant. I really liked an awful lot of it and I felt very uplifted.
Yeah.
And then we got the news that, 8 o'clock there was going to be a call for a no confidence vote and that all went out the window. So we haven't really talked about it since then.
No, okay. Well, I really assumed you'd have talked about it with other people by now, so I'm not
Well, not
prepared
really,
to do
'cause-
the kind of there wasn't an amazing bit. I'll be honest, I didn't watch much of it.
Okay.
Because while I think it's brilliant, all the pomp, the pageantry, Britain does it so well, we do the kind of the eccentricity, the fun. I looked on those 4 days as an opportunity to really work. I'm writing a new book and I just had my head
Yeah.
down in research and reading all weekend.
That's okay.
But I did emerge and I saw little bits of it. And there are a couple of bits that did really stand out to me. Like you, I didn't like Prince William's speech. Incredibly political. Net zero goals are, in fact, highly controversial. I want the royalty well away from
Yes.
politics.
Also, too many private jets and Bentleys and Rolls Royces involved in people telling me how I shouldn't use the kettle quite so much on a Sunday.
I know.
Thanks.
And didn't he take a helicopter to Wales?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I just don't want to be lectured about the environment by people who fly private
Yeah.
helicopters.
I'm quite
who have
happy for him to
new
fly.
outfits for every event.
I'm quite happy for him to fly in a helicopter. I don't mind him doing that, but don't tell me what to do, thanks.
No, if you live in multiple palaces, don't talk to me about the environment.
Quite.
But there was one really intriguing bit, and when I saw it, it startled me. I snapped to, and that was the image of the Queen in the centuries-old Georgian golden carriage.
Oh, yeah.
Because that wasn't the live Queen, that was a hologram.
Yes.
So I thought this was very interesting that the Queen was reduced to being an avatar in her own Jubilee pageants.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
No, I
So
missed that.
We had the young Queen waving from the carriage. Now, she supposedly only pulled out of those appearances in the final couple of days. So they didn't just rustle a hologram up. You know, this is something
No,
that
I think it was always going to be, because I was wondering why they wouldn't have just made the whole thing hologram and make the entire procession a hologram, and that way you don't have to pay anybody or anything.
Well, it's probably expensive creating holograms. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it's easy to just throw holograms out. Probably because of the programming, the software.
I mean, it's good enough for ABBA, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
I mean, they're doing a whole world tour as holograms.
Really?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm so behind the times. You see, you can tell I've been buried in book research.
Yes.
But there was something that was really odd for me about seeing people cheer a hologram. It wasn't the real Queen. Now, I get the whole point of it. That's her, the original, you know, the 1953 her in the carriage. So I get the point. Except it's like, why are we?
Well,
why
they're
are
not
people
cheering
waving at an avatar.
Well, they're not cheering the clever people who had made it, perhaps.
No, they're not cheering
How
the
do you know?
software developers. I checked in with my mum, who is for me my barometer of tradition and patriotism and royalty.
Yes.
She's such a monarchist, okay? You know, she's flying special platinum Jubilee flags in her guard, and, you know, she's all over this.
Right.
And she said, "Oh no, I didn't like the
didn't
hologram
like the
either,
hologram.
Laura. Didn't like the hologram." It was very peculiar.
It's a bit dystopian, isn't it?
Mind you, there's certain members of the royal family who could be holograms forever, and it might not be too bad.
Like Andrew.
Andrew, perhaps
Also, you wouldn't
Harry
get
and
into
Meghan.
quite as
Perhaps
much trouble.
they could live in
hologram
the
of Andrew,
States,
yeah.
but we could have holograms of them here in the UK. They wouldn't need to fly back then. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't really want to see them in any form, actually, hologram or any other.